Rev up your engines. Okay, Nissan Rogue, it's their biggest seller for years, right? Well, this one's got 15,000 miles and he thinks the transmission's starting to have problems. We're gonna check it all out. In my mind, I can't comprehend they sell so many of these things with the problems that they have. Looking at them, they're beautiful looking cars. They look like any other kind of crossover. You know, nice looking, nice lines. This is an all-wheel drive version. He paid 32 grand for it. The average new car is 49,000, so it's way below the average new car. And he thought that Nissans were good. He looked at things like Edmunds. You're gonna find out that a lot of these companies that talk about cars, they're actually owned by people who sell used cars and new cars. And the information is a bit slanted towards telling you how great they are, but maybe not so much. Now, he gets 30 miles a gallon, but let's put on our thinking caps, right? This vehicle is almost brand new. It's only got like 15,000 miles. Take my Matrix. It's 17 years old. It gets 37 miles a gallon on the highway. You think, what the heck? 16 years later, why is it actually worse gas mileage? Well, because Americans go for horsepower. This has more horsepower than that. Matrix will cruise all day at 80, 85 if you want. That's why I really can't comprehend. They put all this high technology, CVT transmissions, GDI fuel injection, yet it only gets 30 miles a gallon, and that old clunker gets 37 with just regular, a 4-speed transmission. Now, granted, this is an all-wheel drive vehicle. The Matrix is not. This is another reason I tell people, only get all-wheel drive if you really feel you have to have all-wheel drive. You're gonna get worse gas mileage. When a tire blows, you gotta replace all 4, or you're gonna find a lot of your all-wheel drive system will wear out because it gotta compensate. The computer assumes all the tires are the same size. If some are different sizes, guess what? It screws up the computer's information from the sensors and it can destroy transmission parts. So, another expense that you don't have to worry about. With all-wheel drive car, hey, you blow out a front tire, change both front tires if they're worn. Blow out a back one, change both back. You don't have to change all 4. Now, he gets 30 miles a gallon, right? Let's look under the hood, and you might be shocked at what you're gonna find. It's a variable compression turbocharged engine. There's only 3 cylinders, right? 3 cylinders. The variable compression engine is so complex. The pistons, the piston rods that are in various pieces, cantilevered, hydraulic, electronic actuators, and a complexity up the wazoo. Bad enough it's only a little 3-cylinder engine, right? Let's look at the facts. All that complexity. Oh, variable compression engines are the future, right? Well, they're not in my future and most people, and here's why. The point of variable compression was you could change the compression for various scenarios, cruising, acceleration, fast takeoff, right? And they said, oh, they're so efficient. They couldn't be so efficient if the thing gets 30 miles a gallon when this old-fashioned plain old engine gets 37 and is 16 years older. To me, that's garbage technology, and that's one reason you ask any honest engineer. Today, they will say, yes, it's obviously a dismal failure on the marketplace because you want to get really good gas mileage with that complexity, and it doesn't. That's just patent absurdity that an old engine that's 4 cylinders with a regular engine, no turbo, gets 7 miles a gallon better than this thing does with only 3-cylinder variable compression, a turbocharger. Kind of patent insanity, proving that they pretty much wasted their time on a variable compression engine. And wait, if it ever breaks, you would have to junk the car. Nobody knows how to fix these things. It proved it didn't get better gas mileage. What's the point of making it? Now we'll go inside and start her up, and which is typical for a 3-cylinder engine. Yes, it shakes a little. They can talk all they want about 3-cylinder engines. Oh, we've got them so they work smooth. But that thing's shaking like somebody having a fit. Don't listen to their advertising PR. We're gonna hook up my fancy scan tool. We're gonna look at the data, bearing in mind it hardly has any miles on it at all. So here we go, the old Autel scanner. It's a variable compression turbo. And while it's looking it up, it's got a cute little shifter here. It's a CVT transmission, you know, so you can put it in those weird modes where you can pretend to shift gears with the shifter pedals, but it doesn't have any gears. And the owner just mentioned to me it's terrible at downshifting if you do it manually. So we can do a topology scan. That scans absolutely everything. And while it's doing that, you see, you can set it up for, you know, hill climbing, snow, racing. I don't know about this racing mode here. It's got 14,688 miles, right? It's a baby. And look, it's already got 12 trouble codes. So let's check them out one at a time. That's the owner laughing in the background. Realize that my wife's Lexus, when it was 21 years old, got its first trouble code, and it was a bad temperature sensor that cost me $35 after 21 years of driving. This baby's a year old, has 14,000 miles. It's got all those codes. Had a problem with one of these light sensors for the AC system. Oh, that stuff's kind of crazy. And it had a communication fault, a U code. Well, truthfully, almost all modern cars get communication faults because they get a little bit low in voltage. They can trip stuff. Now, just for giggles, we'll turn it off and we'll put the idiot lights on and we'll erase those codes. Go to the next one on the list, which is the multi-AV. We'll see what those codes are. Telematic control unit, Bluetooth module. These are all, again, crazy electronic faults. So who knows? Maybe somebody disconnected the battery or something. We're going to erase them all. Automatic e-call lock. The phone system, we'll erase that too. But it does say something. This thing's only got 14,688 miles on it. It's got all these codes. It shouldn't have any problems at all. And this is now. Imagine if this thing makes it to be 10 years old. What will happen to the electronics? The crazy nonsense that would probably pop up. Now, he's not complaining about the running. It's running okay. And so far, these are all crazy communication codes. But that's a modern car. Some of these modern cars will have 60, 70, 80 separate computer modules. And you know how computers are? They screw up all the time. You turn them off, turn them back on again. Now that one erased, so we'll go down to the last 3 sets. Trouble code for that. Battery current sensor. Okay? This is a sensor that's on the battery that does voltage. We'll erase that too. Like I said, could have been a weak battery, a low battery. We'll check the battery before we take it for a road test. That's the problem with these modern cars. All this electronic crap, all it takes is a little drop in voltage, and sometimes even a new battery. Occasionally you'll get a low drop in voltage, and it'll start tripping all these nutty codes. And in the past, it had a distance sensor code, and as nutty as that sounds, the sensors are on your front bumper and stuff, right? You get a bug or dirt on it, the sensor stops working. Find out where all your sensors are. I did one the other day. It had one in the front, 2 in the side, 1 in the back. Find where they are, get Windex, and clean them once a week, or you can get wacky codes. And at one point in time, the owner told me he drove it in Michigan for a while and he was there. And of course, the snow would cover it up and that would trip a code. Do you really want these things on your car? I don't. Corner sensor, center sensor, center sensor, corner sensor. Again, if they cover with snow or ice or dirt, they're not going to work, right? Especially snow and ice, because then the sonar will get screwed up. I suppose if it was a little bit dirty, it'd go through the dust, but I suppose a chunk of mud wouldn't. But all this crap on your cars, you're going to have to keep your cars clean, you piggies out there who have filthy cars, or you're going to end up with all these goofball codes. We'll look at some live data now. We'll look at the ECM data. We got the data. Battery voltage is good. Remember, it's color-coded. Red would be bad. And realize this is a very complex car with variable compression engines. It would make your head spin, some of the data you're going to get out of these things. Crazy active grill shutter. It's open now because it's hot outside. Oh, you're going to save a lot in gas mileage. Like I say, things only get 30 miles a gallon. It doesn't work very well. Just for that system. Active grill, shutter, calibration, circuit, temperature, overrun, stock, shutter adjustment, diagnosis. This is insanity. So, of course, it's in good running shape. Let's shut the hood and take it for a spin. You can play around. You can see, not only do you see the turbo boost, but you see the variable compression ratio while you're driving down the road. Since it's smaller and lighter, it does handle quite well. Nissans have always been nice driving cars. Nissans are kind of Ford's Japanese. They make fast cars that are zippy to drive, but unfortunately, Fords and Nissans tend to fall apart before their time. We're almost to the drag strip where we'll do a full run. I doubt if it's going to burn rubber, but we'll see what it does. Here we go. We're at a stop. On your mark, get set, go. It's starting to move. There, the turbo kicked in. Now, the CVT tranny, see, it's doing fake shifts. It does not have gears. So, God knows what's going on inside there. And another problem, he said, sometimes when he's on cruise control at a certain speed, it has a hard time staying at that certain speed. Well, that's more or less a design flaw of these things. What it is, the CVT transmissions are designed for the best gas mileage. They don't want to be spinning the engine fast, they want to make the engine spin slower. So they try to get into a gear ratio that makes the engine spin less. And unfortunately for him, or maybe fortunately, that's normal for these things. He's not happy with the way that it runs, that when it's hotter outside, it'll lose some acceleration and stuff, shift a little bit weird. That's the way these cars are, because even a picture has a good explanation. You got turbo boost and you have variable compression, right? The computer is always trying to give you as much power as possible with the best gas mileage possible. When you want to drive fast though, that goes out the window, the boost goes high, so the turbo's boosting, and then the variable compression engine will go into power mode. He's a smart guy, he's a software engineer. So he just told me, he said, I'll probably get rid of this thing when the warranty's up. That's 5 years, 60,000 miles. It's got 14,000 miles on it now. Hey, he gets close to 60,000 5 years, he'll probably get rid of it. And if you don't mind that, you can be perfectly fine buying one of these things. Yes, it's kind of a fun run-around car to drive, but I have to say, variable compression engine, what a failure. Not all that much power, and not all that much gas mileage. It's like the worst of both worlds. Let's make something really complex that doesn't get that great gas mileage over the other engine. I think it's, I don't know, 3-4% better gas mileage and all that technology. No, like him, if you're gonna not have it more than 60,000 miles or 5 years, you'll probably be happy with a car like this. But if you're a guy like me that's gonna drive a car 20 years, 30 years, hundreds of thousands of miles, I would say you wouldn't want to touch this car with a 10-foot pole, because when it gets old and that stuff starts to break down, and remember this, it had all those codes, and it's a new car. Imagine what's going to happen to the electronics as it ages. This is not a long-term vehicle by any stretch, too much technology, right? But for fun for a few years, it's under warranty. What the heck? About 20 grand less than the average new car these days, so you're saving that money and it gets decent gas mileage. Why not? You know, just don't see it as a long-term car. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.